Galveston is 37 miles all the way around. At its widest point is 4 miles. Galveston's a beautiful place to live. It's a beautiful place to raise a family. What could be better than living on an island? Sunshine, palm trees. We are the piece of land that actually stops a hurricane from being massive at the oil refineries just on the other side of Galveston Bay. The further and further away you get from September 13th, 2008, when Hurricane Ike hit this island, the further you get away from it, the more of the separation of power you see. At that point, we all were even. We all were equal. The powers that be, after rebuilding, you see that you haven't moved and they've gone on and on to mature.
People were lined up on 45 to get back in, and then they would put on your car LL. The LL was abbreviation for look and leave. They would let you come on the island to look, I guess, salvage what you can, and leave. The reason why they told you to leave is because it was inhabitable. There was no running water, there was no electricity, no grocery stores, no emergency personnel. So you had state troopers, you had police, and they were out and about telling people, hey, look, you gotta go. You have to go. And so then they declared martial law. So like 2 days later, FEMA came, and FEMA was going house to house, house to house, house to house. And because they knew that a lot of people stayed. They knew that a lot of elderly people stayed. So they were just going from house to house to seeing if people were alive, if people were dead. There were people died here. If we would have stayed down here, we would have been dead. Up the street, 59th Street, passing Lakeview Cemetery, seen 3 different coffins had just floated up out of the ground. Coffins. And I was like, houses that just had fallen in. Right after the hurricane, everybody got together and they bonded, and they were asking, do you need help? Do you need somewhere to stay? And there was a bond with everybody, Everybody came together, all races, creed, backgrounds came together, People with money, people without money. We're all equal then.
How it didn't make any difference who you were. The devastation of it was that we're all equal. I remember going to this lady's house, and we picked up some real nice things from her. She had a beautiful house. She and I talked for a few minutes and brought it over and put it away. Well, when Hurricane Ike hit, 4700 Broadway is the Galveston Housing Authority. They have a huge parking lot. So the National Guard set up where they were distributing water and ice to individuals. And I was in this line like everybody else to get water and ice. And the lady in front of me was the lady that I had gone to her house probably 2 or 3 weeks earlier. And we were talking, and she turned around and she said, Leon, I never thought I'd be in a line like this. And she just broke down and started crying, laid her head on my shoulders, and I have this thing about me and God. And out of my mouth came, my God doesn't make any mistakes. And I guess I did it as one of these sly remarks because I knew her wealth and I knew my wealth, and they weren't compatible at all. But here we are, we're in the same spot. There's not a grocery store, There's nothing you can do about your situation, and there's nothing I can do about mine, but stand in this line and take what somebody gives us.
People that you may see in the grocery store that you've never spoken to, you spoke to them during that time, or they helped you during that time. You know, the rebuilding process, a lot of people still rebuilding.
After Ike, all of public housing was torn down. All of the public housing units were basically on the north side of Broadway, between 53rd, 26th Street.
Majority of the housing projects, the people that live in public housing, they left because they didn't have anywhere to go. You know, the public housing may have got like 8 to 9 foot of water in those units.
Now that they've begun to rebuild the public housing in Galveston, that element has not had a chance to be reborn. The areas between 26 and 46 have been cleaned up immensely.
People that were in public housing here, most people needed it. You know, most people were, they didn't make a whole lot of money to either rent or buy, you know, to rent or buy a house. So you've had some generations that grew up in public housing, totally different than what these are. They're flat, one level, but you had an upstairs. They were flat, but it wasn't built nowhere like this. Never thought that I would see public housing like this. I've heard that New Orleans is built like this, their public housing.
We still don't have public housing back. We're going to get mixed income. There are still African Americans who haven't had their homes repaired. They're progressing and we're still at a standstill.
The public housing was still here. You'll have kids playing, you know, riding their bicycles and playing. They're playing in the courtyard and stuff. You'll hear people playing their music in their apartments. You'll see people. Of course, you don't see it right now because it's empty, but it's just totally different. It's totally different. And that's why I say I think I kept those out who didn't want these places here.
The racial part of Galveston has been put back in the closet. African Americans and minorities are always going to feel the brunt of no matter what it is. No matter how it comes, they're always going to be the individuals who feel the brunt of it. We're set up for failure. The business areas of New Orleans are back up and functioning. The people in different wards still don't see anything happening in their neighborhoods. So poor people normally get the brunt of whatever's going on.
It's a tourist town. They don't want the tourists to come in here seeing the eyesore, you know, the low-income people. You know, like I was telling you, not all low-income people are characters. I was 6 years old growing up here. I was 6 years old, and I don't consider myself a character. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I go to work every day and live a private life. So just because you're raised here doesn't mean that you're going to be a character.
100 years from now, Galveston Island may not be here.
We have a lot to do with the reason the climate is changing, you know. It's not happening by itself. There are things that we're doing to the planet to cause the climate to change, you know.
The more and more the Arctic melts, the more and more water is going to be in the Gulf of Mexico.
My common sense tells me that, you know, with those glaciers and icebergs breaking, it's causing the seas to swell. Where did that water go? You know, water like that just don't go, you know, don't just evaporate like that. You know, just like kind of like having a big old piece of sculpture and sculpted ice or something, and then when it melts, it has to go somewhere, and that's what probably causing the seas to swell, and then it's probably causing, you know, these hurricanes.
The warnings that are being given will at some point hit on ears that understand, who are in a powerful enough position to do something about it.